אוקיי, ברוכים הבאים לפסטיבל חיפה. אני אלון, אני שמח מאוד ומתרגש להיות כאן עם הבמאי בייקר ולדבר איתו על סרטו השביעי והחדש טיל אדום, רד רוקט, שמציג פה בפסטיבל. אתמול הייתה ההקרנה הראשונה, ביום שישי יש הקרנה נוספת. רק אגיד שהשיחה תכיל ספוילרים, ולכן מומלץ קודם לצפות בסרט ואז בשיחה. וכמו כן השיחה תתנהל באנגלית. We'd like to begin now. Thank you, Sean Baker, for being with us. For
It's
your
great being here. I wish I was there physically, but
me too. I was just on the screening yesterday of Red Rocket, which is your 6.5 feature film, if I'm correct.
Yeah, I guess you could say that. I co-directed one film of mine, so yeah.
And I really loved it. I'm really intrigued by it. It is quite, I think it's your most divisive film, probably, will be. But I want to keep maybe politics aside, because you're a wonderful filmmaker and I want to talk about art, and I know about a lot of filmmakers asked me to focus on that too. So I'd like to ask you first on your filmmaking, let's say from the time that I and other filmmakers and audiences broadly started to follow your work, which is from Tangerine and onwards.
Okay.
If it's okay.
Sure.
You use lo-fi kind of filmmaking with Tangerine, iPhone, and with Florida Project. You shot on 16 millimeters, and you combine it with characters that are kind of on the offside of society, with a kind of contemporary Instagrammy maybe touch, which is a kind of, that's like my analysis, I don't know, that is makes things that we generally don't see and don't want to see, these type of people and actions with very poppy aesthetics. First of all, do you agree? And second, why or how did you come up with this combination?
You know, it's been different with every film. I've been choosing my mediums based on for various reasons. Sometimes the budget, which is often dictates mediums, but also just whatever I think subtextually works with the subject matter. So this time around with Red Rocket, I chose to go 16 millimeter anamorphic. So I was getting the best of both worlds. I was getting, I think, that the lo-fi element that you referred to, but I also think that shooting film in general and shooting anamorphically really elevated it to almost a classic cinema style. I mean, we were definitely looking at films from like from that era, the 70s, meaning, I'm sorry, I didn't, not that era that it takes place in, but I'm very influenced by 70s cinema for many reasons, not just in the craft of those films, but in the way they approach subject matter. So we decided to use, I think, a lot of early 70s films as reference, you know, visually. And that doesn't just mean US cinema, that means all over the world. I mean, we sort of combine the aesthetics of a Spielberg's Sugarland Express that was shot by Vilmo Zsigmond with like the early 70s Italian genre films, which I have been very much obsessed with as of late. So it just sort of combining these two, which ends up in a way becoming pop, becoming, you know, becoming something that mainstream cinema film goers are used to seeing. Yeah, so, you know, I'm sorry. Yeah, I don't know if I answered your question in any way.
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
But yeah, I'm a fan of all mediums, but obviously I'm also an advocate for film, meaning celluloid, because I think it's being left behind a little bit, and people are forgetting that that was the medium that invented this wonderful art. So I embrace all new mediums, but that doesn't mean to get rid of old ones. So, you know, since Tangerine, I've been in a great place where I've had the budgets, even though low budgets, I've had the budgets to be able to shoot on film and to support Kodak and keep them alive. They're the only company right now manufacturing film. And so I've embraced that with my last two films, and hopefully with my future ones.
Yeah, that kind of creates an opposite relation between the look and the costs, right? Because it's lo-fi, but film costs more, and it's much more complex to shoot in film. Did it affect the number of takes or the way you direct or rehearsals?
To a certain degree. I was working with the incredible cinematographer Drew Daniels on this film, Red Rocket, and he's extremely fast, especially with 16 millimeter. So to tell you the truth, it didn't slow us down. Of course, it cost more than digital, but the benefits you get with that extra are you can't measure the value. And so, but yes, you have to tackle it in a different way. Obviously, on these lower budgets, you have to be as thrifty as possible. Though I never want to just, you know, say, oh, I got my last take because I can't afford any more film. I will always make sure that, you know, you are, as a filmmaker, you don't move on until you got it. So no, I don't care how much film you're shooting, move on until you got it, because there's no way you can, you know, invent stuff in post-production. So yeah.
Great. I wanted to ask you about location and production design.
Sure.
Because the film uses, again, this aesthetics of pastel colors. And I wondered, in the Americana, where I'm not living and I'm not very familiar with,
Right.
How much is it great location scouting and or production design?
Well, I take I take location scouting extremely seriously, because locations can become a character. So for example, in Red Rocket, Donut Hole, that is a real location. That's a donut shop that's located right next to the refineries in Port Arthur, which is actually a geographical cheat for us. It doesn't take, that's not in Texas City, that's an hour north. But when we found it, we just fell in love with it for every reason that you see on film. I mean, like the colors, the location, the sexual innuendos that you might pull from the title, from the name of the, you know, that sort of stuff. So I embrace that. I always look out for my locations, but then I also have an incredible team. And my production designer is my sister. Her name is Stefanik, and she worked with me in the past on Florida Project. And she has a wonderful sense of color and how to strategically place colors. Now with Red Rocket, because I'm dealing with themes of, like, you know, I'm obviously setting this at a time, 2016 during the elections, but we're in general, we're dealing with the themes of politics and division and divide. And so we wanted to obviously show the red and blue, and we worked red and blue throughout the entire film, hopefully in a subtle way. Hopefully it doesn't pop out much, but if you watch the film, you'll see that those are the two primary colors. And then you have all the other, as you mentioned, the pastel colors for certain locations. You have yellows and greens for other locations. And these, I know what they mean, but it's up to you, and it's up to the audience to interpret exactly what these colors mean. But again, my sister did an amazing job at sort of, I think, subtly sprinkling things throughout.
Okay, Sprinkle brings me to the next question because it's about the donut shop. And both in Red Rocket and in Tangerine, the donut shop is a primary location.
Yes.
And in Florida project, there are a number of other restaurants, usually.
A lot of junk food.
Yeah, a lot of junk food.
A lot of junk food, because I see that as America, we live on our burgers and fries and Coca-Cola and donuts and ice cream, and unfortunately that's where we're at in 2021. So that was my again, it's up for interpretation, but
yeah,
I'm putting that out there pretty blatantly.
Do you think it sometimes could affect the let's leave the film alone for a second because you don't want it to interpret it yourself, but do you think it affects how society works or people's behavior, the way they eat, and the place that it has in their lives?
Well, of course. I mean, we all know that, all the foods that I just mentioned don't rank high on the nutrition scale.
Yeah.
And that's an issue in the United States, I'm sure throughout the world. An epidemic of unhealthiness. And so yeah, of course, this is just, it's in a way, it's coloring the world in. It's not exactly like I'm trying to make direct statements on this stuff, but this is what I think is just one of the elements that adds up to sort of my look at the state of the country though right now. Yeah.
Okay, let's touch on music. Quick remark, maybe it'll give you some inspiration to talk. I found it interesting that like 10 years ago, the song and music video games by Lana Del Rey, which also deals with Americana and kitsch and beauty, came out. Okay. And I even know that you shared the same colorist or color grading.
Oh, I did not know that. I have to ask.
For Florida project, yeah.
Oh, Sam Daly. Okay.
Yeah. And I was wondering, do you see any connection between the two of you? That's not personal.
I haven't seen that music video, and I don't know.
Oh, okay. So you should.
I'm sorry. I hear she's incredibly talented.
Yeah.
It's not my job.
Okay.
So
cool.
Sorry.
No, it's okay. So yeah, definitely I see a connection, at least thematically in the subject matters and in a way, in the way you handle the Americana and beauty.
Okay.
But maybe I'll go to the other musical inspired question, which is Bye 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 by Backstreet Boys. I hope that's the name of the song. That's how I
yeah, I think it is. That's
oh,
it.
cool.
Yeah. No, but it's NSYNC, not Backstreet Boys. It's NSYNC.
It's NSYNC. Oh,
yes.
I'm really
yes.
So I didn't get it right. So the film begins with the song, and there's kind of
it becomes
progress. Yeah.
It becomes the film's anthem in a way. Yeah, so I'll speak a little to that. I honestly did not. Well, first off, I knew the film wasn't going to be scored. I've been intentionally avoiding score for my last few films, just because it's a challenge to me as a filmmaker to try to reach the same heights of emotion without the manipulation of a score. Even though I love soundtracks and I love scores, I'm just trying to, with my films, I'm trying to tackle it without that for the time being. But this one really came about organically, and I'll tell you why. So for those who haven't seen the film, we don't score the film. There's no traditional soundtrack, but there is the repetition of NSYNC's Bye Bye Bye. And it came about because I realized that one of my lead actors, Susie Sun, who plays Strawberry in the film, she is an incredibly talented musician. She teaches piano, and so she's taught piano. And so I thought, how can I not take advantage of that and have her perform something in the film? And so we wanted to have something that, worked subtextually. So we were thinking about all the songs that we could possibly have her perform. Anything that had to do with a breakup or kicking somebody out or that, like songs like Hit the Road, Jack, stuff like that. And then finally, this Bye 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 came up, and it was instantaneously like everybody said, of course, how can we deny Bye Bye Bye? Even the lyrics work pretty much if you read the lyrics of the song, it's uncannily close to what's happening in the plot. So, and then on top of that, the song is such a classic song now, even though it's only 21 years old, that it's become iconic, and therefore attaching it to my film, just by attaching that song to my film, I've sort of attached the star to my film. And I just want to thank NSYNC for approving of it and allowing and giving us and licensing their song to us. And I know that they, by the way, all 5 members had to sign off on this because they were part of the original writing of the song. So they had to approve of it. So I love that. I love the fact that Justin Timberlake is my script.
Somehow involved in the film. And
they're somehow involved in the film,
so Susanna, she rearranged the song for the film?
Oh, just a bit, giving her
because
own,
she gives a wonderful performance and arrangement.
Yes.
And she, along with Simon Rex, the lead actor, which is amazing. They have some sort of a life background into the sex industry. Was it important for you while you were casting them? I guess so, but
not really.
No? Okay.
And you're referring to Simon stuff. Yeah, I don't really want to speak too much to that. I think he should speak to it, but there was that discussion that how we knew that it would come up perhaps, and there was that side of it that we both embraced. And part of the reasons that I make films about sex work is to help, remove stigma from it. And the very fact that his career was at a time, affected by just a few nude photos, shows that there is a real, unfortunately, the stigma attached that can actually affect somebody's livelihood and affect somebody's career. So us giving him a lead role in a feature film 30 years later, I think it's kind of like a full circle to like a big FU to everybody who gave him crap back in the day. That's how I see it, but of course you should talk to him.
Okay, no problem. So, is there anything else that you would like to say to the Haifa Film Festival viewers before we
just the fact that I wish I was there. I've heard such wonderful things about the festival, and if you haven't seen the film so far and you're about to, just keep in mind that it is a dramedy, which means it's part comedy, which means if you're so inclined to laugh, feel free. But it's a film that we made during COVID. We shot it at this time last year, and it was not just COVID, but it was also the climate of the U.S. We are leading towards a very stressful election. The country itself felt very angry, and I think not only angry but fearful and scared, and I think that energy was somehow captured. We somehow captured that energy just by shooting at that time, and I think it's made its way into the film. But of course, that's up for you as audience members to determine. But I feel as if it's sort of special that way because we did not see it coming. We made this film because we had to, meaning that we took advantage of the moment and shooting very small, tiny film, much smaller than Florida Project.
Mhm.
And just we were very blessed with like a lot of serendipity and happy accidents and things that just came from our spontaneous approach to the film. So I hope you recognize it. And I hope that you enjoy it. If enjoy is a word that can be applied to Red Rocket, I don't know.
Yeah, definitely. I think the magic of it is the comedy and the likability of the characters, of all characters, alongside with their moral acts that are very much questionable. That's what I enjoyed the most.
Oh, well, that's nice to know that there are audience members who still want to be challenged that way. That's what my fear is in the US, that we're losing that. So,
Mhm.
I think this film is sort of a response to that, saying, hey, it's okay to be a little uncomfortable sometimes watching a film. It's meant to provoke thought. And so, yeah.
You did it, and it's great. I really loved it. Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you so much and have a great festival.
Thank you so much. Ciao.
All right. Cool. Bye-bye.